You're listening to the Insurance Podcast from Insuretech Connect 2024, recorded live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Brought to you by First Insurance Funding, the innovator in payment solutions.
This is our first day here at ITC, and we're really excited to sit down with Azhar, who is the Chief Business Development Officer for Hover. And we first met Hover and the founder and CEO, AJ Altman, 5 years ago. And at that point, we were blown away by Hover. So now we're 5 years later. What's new as you come into Insuretech Connect 2024?
There's been a lot of new stuff since 5 years, and we've scaled a lot over the last 5 years in the industry to be a more prominent Insuretech player. And where our focus areas have been most recently are around supplementing the what we believe to be the best-in-class 3D spatial data products that we originally launched in market with, by also starting to introduce new workflow solutions to try to provide efficiency at the adjuster level to try to deal with some of the strategic imperatives that carriers have as they deal with some of the most I'd say treacherous times that carriers have faced in modern history, really.
Yeah, absolutely. With all the cat losses going on across North America, the world, what do you see for the integration within your platform into all of these various systems? Because that's for what we've been witnessing is how many times we talk to other software providers, and the answer is, and we use Hover's data to give our adjusters or our underwriters that information. How's that journey been, like joining up? It must have been quite the ride.
Yeah, it has been a really amazing evolution over the last 5-6 years. Just from a foundational perspective, we believe in an open ecosystem, and we've built our platform with that in mind to be able to make it easy to integrate into the Hover system and to be able to share data across platforms, because one of the things that we hear on a very regular basis from carriers is I need to be able to streamline the data exchange between our core systems and other systems that are critical to us within the ecosystem. And so our objective has always been to try to be as easy to integrate with and share data with as possible.
So Ali, what's changed now with the rise of cat losses? It was an issue 5 years ago, but now this is a continuing, frequent problem in the insurance industry. We've just come out of 2 hurricanes in Florida. Up in Canada, where our home is, we've had floods, we've had forest fires, and thankfully there hasn't been an earthquake. But how
major hail events?
Major hail events. How is that those kinds of losses driving change for Hover, and how are you adapting to them?
Yeah, it's a really great question. The impact that it's had on us has really been, I think, very multidimensional, but the 2 primary things that we really see and focus on are an understanding of the change in expectation that the consumer has about the experience that they expect from people who are service providers to them, insurance carriers playing a very critical role to the homeowner experience and homeowner journey, and the availability of talent in the marketplace to be able to deal with the not just the quantity, but the complexity of the claim in the adjudication process. And so where we have tried to step in is to try to bridge that gap between where the available talent is in the market today from an adjuster or an inspector perspective with technology to try to streamline some of these workflows such that the unique value prop that we deliver to the market, being able to be a solution that can scope and scale a property, which is very unique and differentiated to be able to do with technology, something that only historically could be done with a human being, being the person to achieve that, allows us to deliver this very interesting data product that we now marry with our workflow solutions to try to address how complex the set of problems are now for carriers related to the change in weather patterns in the country and the world, and the pressure that's putting on the business model.
So, and maybe just to ask a very simple question here on from what Hover's achieving is, I like using the term, let's go to 35,000 feet, and you guys do that all the time. So, in that case, is the technology getting better to be up there and be zooming in on these properties, let's say, for example, 5 years ago, Pete, we met you guys. I think it was one of the first companies we interviewed at ITC. So it's kind of ironic here we are doing it again, for number one for today. And is it better? Like, is it actually mean that somewhere up there's a camera that's better than it was 5 years ago? That the ability to help adjudicate claims, like you said, is actually mean that these images are real. Like this is happening right now.
Well, the unique thing about the Hover product and service offering is the value proposition that we bring is that we actually don't utilize aerial imagery. We use the mobile phone or mobile devices that sit in the hands of the user as the sensor that's capturing the data. And because of both the quality of the hardware in the market with LiDAR technology built into mobile phones and the advancement in camera sensors, we've been able to take advantage of the fact that we're 15 to 20 feet away from the property when we're capturing the data versus being 35,000 feet away, which absolutely the quality of the aerial imagery technology has advanced in the market. But some of the I don't want to use the word downfalls, but some of the limitations of that is the fact that they can't tell you what the size of the soffit and the fascia is, or the size of the trim at the eaves. And so,
or if they're hailed on, like
correct,
if they're dents in it.
Correct. So the ability to be effectively on top of the property allows for us to have higher fidelity imagery that we can effectively, through photogrammetry, extract more quality data, which allows us to have so much accuracy and the output. It's effectively now gotten to the place where we're ground truth.
Oh, that's an interesting term. So being ground truth then, this is also client powered, right? It's the customer, the insured itself has a role in this. And how is that sort of expanding out in your value proposition? Because you're bringing them in pre and post claim into how they can look at their belongings, their structures, their buildings. What kind of sort of feedback you get from the clients when they start using the Hover technology?
Yeah, it's a really great question. One of the things that we are able to afford the carrier is the opportunity for them to allow for autonomy with the policyholder to be able to be a part of that process if they so choose to want to be a part of that process. So we can absolutely empower the pro user, which may be staff adjuster, maybe independent adjuster, maybe ladder assist, TPA, whatever the case may be. And we're also so user friendly because we've always built Hover to be a consumer grade experience where a first time user has an intuitive product offering that they don't need a lot of training and enablement. So our success rate when carriers have an ambition to want to virtually adjust claims, move claims to the desk, where the policyholder is doing the post-loss collect, is quite high. And it affords for those policyholders that are interested in that type of workflow a higher customer experience and CSAT that they're able to experience from the carrier versus, I have to wait 3 weeks for someone to show up, or a week or two, and I have to take time off from work to be at the house. And it gives them another option for policyholders.
Absolutely, it changes a lot of the interactivity and control for them. It's not an inconvenience anymore. Now, one of the things you're going to be talking about here at ITC this year is guided inspections, right? That is a new thing that you're bringing out. How is that functioning with Hover, and what does that mean to the industry then?
Yeah, so over the last 6 years or so that we've been in the market as an Insuretech player, one of the things that we've constantly prioritized is how can we improve the adjuster experience. The difficulty that adjuster faces in the field with what they're asked to do and the challenges that they're asked to deal with related to the quantity of claims that they need to deal with, the complexity as we spoke about earlier in the interview. This workflow solutions that we're now delivering to the market are initially being delivered to the adjuster to allow them to be more efficient, to have more confidence, to have more consistency in the way that they acquire data and documentation that needs to go into the claim file. And it standardizes it in a way where the adjuster, if they have a preference for how they want to collect the data, they don't have to adjust or edit that preference. They can collect it the way they want to collect it, and then we standardize the aggregation of that information on the back end to be able to deliver to the carrier based off of their guidelines, so that it's a phenomenal user experience at the field level, and it delivers what the carrier is looking for to try to start to help impact positively cycle time and loss adjusting expense.
That's interesting because you said earlier, like you were going through this evolution of the industry, seeing the baby boomers retiring. You're getting younger, newer adjusters coming on the scene, and let's face it, if they can learn from the beginning how to operate within that platform versus the old clipboard with a piece of paper blowing in the wind and dropping the pen up on the roof, and you can imagine all the things adjusters went through over the years. So what other tools within the toolbox of what you've built, like Pete described, could you tell our listeners about that you guys are launching here at ITC?
Yeah, so over the years, as we've focused initially on delivering these what we call data products, the exterior measurement solution. Now we have an interior measurement solution. It allows us to be able to provide comprehensive data across both exterior and interior claims, marrying that with things like the inspection product that helps with the adjuster in the field, as well as our guided estimates capability, which helps to automate the creation of line items for the estimate into the estimatics platforms based off of policy guidelines from the carrier. It's creating an incredible amount of efficiency and helping to contribute to more accuracy, because one of the very interesting things that we've seen as the market has started to evolve is, first, as we were scaling in construction from no customers to now 30,000 plus contracting organizations that use our technology, both restoration and remodeling contractors, is they faced a talent gap issue related to not having trades and craftspeople in the market. They were hiring people who were great with sales experience and customer experience. Maybe they were enterprise rent-a-car training graduates, but they didn't know the craft. We needed to create a technology that helped obfuscate that lack of understanding of the trades and the craft. And now we're seeing that exact same phenomenon.
They can talk the language, right? When they're talking to a carpenter on the other end of the phone, they're using their language, right? So are you prompting them almost in some way on what to say, or how does that work?
Really where the magic happens is the ability to scope the entire property, not just at the roof line, but all the way down with great accuracy, and delivering 3D data to them that can visualize the property in 3D. Your ability to interact with the workflow solutions is amplified because you have the benefit of 3D. So it's effectively a 3D workflow solution.
It's like you're standing in the house.
Correct.
Yeah, more or less. Wow.
So this is interesting because where I'm going is you started talking a little bit about
when he says this.
Yeah, this is where I go off tangent. Get ready when I go off tangent. But you know, and Kurt, you just brought it up. There's this gap in the talent aspect, and what I'm thinking is, with Hover and your data now and how you're doing things, are you helping companies bridge their talent gap from a training standpoint of saying, hey, not only do you need to train people to do what they do, we're now giving you a modern tool, which is one of the problems that insurance has always had. For a lot of people in the ecosystem, they're doing the job the same way it was done 20 years ago. Well, that's not interesting because they're doing cooler things in their life with just regular day-to-day technology. Why is insurance so outdated? And I'm getting the sense that you're bridging that gap to draw people into these areas where we've had talent problems because of the technology. Is that something that's happening?
That's exactly a core part of the thesis that we have for what we're bringing to market, and how we're seeing that really manifest itself for the benefit of the industry is via helping to streamline the tech stack. Right now, because of what COVID did to carriers who are not necessarily natural adopters of technology, one of the things that has allowed us to be, I think, gratefully and fortunately as successful as we've been able to be is because we've taken a position with carriers that we want to be an innovation partner to you. We're not a consultancy that you hire to build products for you, but we are a technology experts that understand the craft of building technology products. And because we have the data products and now the workflow solutions, you have the ability to both bridge the talent gap from an adjuster capability perspective, but also bridge the gap relative to understanding how to onboard technology in a seamless way.
So with that, are you then finding that, and I hate to go back there, COVID is like Voldemort, you should never mention the name again, but did COVID sort of catapult Hover a little bit because you were the ultimate technology when people couldn't be together? The technology was on the person's phone. And that's something that is, different than anything else. You couldn't deploy adjusters, they couldn't go into a house. But with Hover, you didn't need that. The insured did it. And did COVID actually sort of indirectly push you further than you'd planned, or
It did. There was a positive outcome in terms of the exposure that it gave us, and it created a necessity for the carriers to have to adopt a workflow that maybe they wouldn't have necessarily done at that time. But one of the really interesting byproducts of that was that it created this like forced smorgasbord tech adoption where carriers were desperate to try to find solutions, and so they grabbed at a lot of things that as point solutions absolutely fit the mold for them. But if those point solutions can't communicate, to your question earlier in the interview around the streamlining of data, now you have data silos within your business, and you have an incredible amount of benefit that's locked inside the vault of data being in silos. And so as we saw that, and we heard from carriers their desire to want to have a streamlined data bridge that can live within their business to break down underwriting and claim silos, or to create systems that speak to each other within either the underwriting or claim side. That's what motivated us to do and want to do more than just provide the data product on the 3D spatial data side, but to integrate that seamlessly into the workflow products.
Yeah, and you know, it's fun to hear how you guys are doing that, and I think it's exciting. We get to go to these events and share that information, and at the end of the day, it's still a people industry, right? We still like getting together. Like Pete said, COVID, you know, was a point in which we couldn't get together, and now here we are, and you just see the numbers, right? It blows up, and so because it's still a people industry, it's still driven by the exchange of data through people. Do you find that your partners, and specifically the carriers, and Pete made a little chuckle about carriers and their lack of technology, but it's true in some cases, are you finding that the ones that are taking on the challenge are actually winning the battle on people as well from an HR perspective? I would think that if I'm a young person going into the adjusting space or restoration space, I should want to work for a company that has some cool tech, so that my job becomes a way more interesting job. Like, I just see there's a correlation now between who's coming in and what environment they get to work in. And is that becoming a bit of a win for you guys as well when you meet with your carriers and say, how are you doing on your HR, and you're bringing in new people? Is it easier because they look and go, this is a great platform, let's have some fun and work in something like this?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, and we have seen, both by the nature of how Hover was even founded. Our founder was born and raised on a farm.
Yeah.
And provided service to the country as a Marine, and his entire thesis on building a business and its culture is around trust and transparency and open and authentic communication amongst people.
Right.
And when we started in the market selling to contractors, not natural adopters of technology, insurance carriers, not natural adopters of technology, it's really about the relationships and the people relationships. And one of the things you come to understand very quickly about the insurance industry is how close-knit people are from decades of being in there, because you're providing a very invaluable service to the marketplace. And it's a very difficult type of position to be in as a carrier. But one of the really interesting things that we've seen is carriers starting to promote the technology solutions that they utilize and implement as a way to attract and retain talent that's coming into the business, because one of the things they've identified is no longer, do we need to change or do we not need to change? They know they need to change. They just don't know how to change as fast as they need to change. And that talent acquisition is a huge differentiator. And you have carriers, the likes of Liberty Mutual and Travelers, and very large organizations that you don't pivot those things on a dime.
No, we wish they would, but they don't.
It's impossible to do $30 billion of revenue and you have tens of thousands of employees. There's a very thoughtful process that has to happen, which is why we took the position of innovation partnership. We don't want to be a vendor selling you technology that we drop off at your front door and leave. We want to be a vendor that innovates together with you. And if you're willing to get into the boat with us and you bring your subject matter expertise around the industry, we will bring our subject matter expertise around technology development and craft. And we've found that has allowed us to have a very strong marriage with the industry, and how we've been able to start to deliver very unique and differentiated product offerings via technology to carriers that are meeting them where they are.
Ali, I don't think we could end on a better summary than that. Thanks so much for sitting down with us and chatting about Hover and what's going on, and enjoy ITC 2024. It's day one really, and it's only going to get more interesting as we go forward.
Thank you so much. Canadians are my favorite people on the planet, so I couldn't have asked for a better group to be interviewed by.
Thanks so much. Have a great conference.
Thank you.